Hi, and welcome to another installment of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I always start each podcast, and I kind of open it the same way, saying, I'm a big believer. Believing and the belief systems that we have are really powerful, and they can hold us and they can keep us stuck. And it keeps us stuck in a place of darkness. And we wanted to bring a light to a very, very dark subject. To be fair, this is a dark subject, but I'm a big believer in if we can get those conversations out there, somebody else is going to see that conversation and go, that's the person I need to speak to, or that's the person who has experience. I don't. Before I introduce you, I don't know how you feel about this. Sometimes I feel there's book smart and there's bias. And we can miss things when we have a book smart and we have a bias. Whereas a lived experience does give a bias, but it also gives us context. It gives us experience. And I think that's something that the Mind Management Mentors podcast is about. So let's welcome today's guest to the Mind Management Mentors podcast, Phil Cohen, all the way from San Francisco.
San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, and then I'll tell you the small things that I know about San Diego.
Right on. Well, thank you for having me, Cuddy. I appreciate you making space for this. It's always good to shed some light on the hard stuff, right? So, my name is Phil Cohen. Most people online know me as the grief guy. I lost my only child, Perry, in a tragic accident in sea. He was only 14. That changed everything about who I am. So today I'm a husband, creator of something called The Inner Garden. I'm also a speaker, a grief coach, but I see myself first as a dad, always trying to love my son in his absence and helping other people figure out how to do the same with their own loss.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, as we like to say. That's thank you very much, Phil, for being on the podcast. Grief is something that can hold so many people in the world completely lost and in such a dark place. As I speak to a previous guest that we had, I've not had grief that some other people have had, such as yourself. But grief is grief in whatever capacity it is. But I think the bigger story is, Phil, what's the journey from losing your 14-year-old son to a horrible freak accident to sitting here as a TEDx speaker and a person who helps other people come through grief? What's that journey and process for you, Phil? From the
Yeah,
darkness to where you are now, which is clearly the light.
yeah, thank you. It's definitely a different process for everybody. There is no after this happened, I had no idea what I was supposed to do, right? They don't teach you these things. So I actually at one point Googled how to grieve because I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. And the only thing you could find around like a framework is the 5 stages, which first of all was invented in the late 60s. It was never developed for the bereaved to begin with. It just has so many problems. Grief is not neat or messy. And now working with a lot of people, there's so many different factors, like, your relationship with the person, that what the circumstances surrounding the situation, your nervous system, your level of resilience, your culture. There's so many different things. So for me, at first I did all the wrong things, stuffed it down, tried to avoid it. But ultimately, what led to where I am now, the first step in that journey, anyway, for me and for a lot of people, and for a lot of men, really, I'd say, is allowing myself to hurt, really, to cry, to rage, to miss him, and plus maybe small rituals. There's tons of evidence around how activity reduces grief. Most people don't realize that grief is just as much or maybe more so physical than it is emotional. So, I did that, like you said, book smart and street smart. So first thing I was like, man, I should go see somebody. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like this, never lost anybody before. My grandparents, but I wasn't very close with them.
Mhm.
So this was like a hard intro into grief. Um, Therapists, I felt like I was being taught from a book, not from lived experience. Did all the groups, read all the books, and instead of letting it, at one point, I decided to say, I'm not going to let this completely envelop me. And I got curious and started to learn. And once you understand like what's actually happening in your brain, what's actually happening in your body, it can be helpful in a lot of circumstances.
So that's right. So there's so many things I'm going to ask questions about. When it comes to grief, what is actually happening in the brain? You said that. What is actually happening in the brain?
Yeah, so many things. So first, your brain swells a little bit, like the frontal lobe swells. You're in fight or flight. Your nervous system is like, like you're constantly looking for danger that's not around you, but you don't know it, right? The forgetfulness, the brain fog, there's reasons for all those things. And then there's also interesting parts about that, like, not in the beginning. Like in the beginning, you just have to do what you have, especially like something like losing a child or really any major loss, is whatever you need to do, that especially, but not something that harms you or other people. But, if you need to sleep, if you need to avoid it, like you have to do what you have to do to survive in the beginning. But yeah, but then, actually then starting to take steps from there. What
Well,
was the original question you just asked me? I lost track.
I noticed you did, which is why I was coming back to it. The question was, what's actually happening in the brain? I'd never heard that before, especially when it comes
Yeah,
to grief.
yeah,
You said that the frontal lobe swells up, you get the brain fog, but what actually is it neurochemicals that's getting flooded into the system in
yeah,
the brain?
yeah, yeah. And your body's flooded with cortisol. That's what literally drains your energy, right? That makes you not want to sleep. You feel like you don't want to do anything. And then there's like things that you don't realize. Like when you lose somebody, everybody says, oh, well, it feels like I lost a part of myself. And you did. And you lost really a version of yourself as well. Like I will never be the same person. Like after July 24th, 2015, like there's that Phil and then there's this Phil. So, there's a change of identity and things like that as well. So there's so many things that are happening that you have to deal with that. And then there's like, what do you say to somebody when somebody says, how many kids do you have? What do you do in this situation? What do you do in that? So there's so much to learn, you know?
Talk us through the first, you get the phone call.
Yeah.
I'm only guessing, but I'm thinking there's going to be a disassociation straight away. So a numbness, a not being able to, from waking up one day to I have a son, 14 years old, to the morning after you wake up and I'm like, I get the fracture of identity of, well, am I a dad anymore? Am I a provider? Am I a lover? Am I a carer?
Yes. Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
The questions that get brought up, I can only assume, which is a terrible word. We should never assume. It makes an ass out of you and me. But for you, Philip, what's that process, or what was that process for you that's going to resonate with someone else and go, that's where I am. I'm still there. It's been 6 months. It's been a year. I'm still there. What's that process, Phil? What was it for you?
Um, so in terms of, I want to make sure, like, we spoke about actually feeling it, right?
Yeah.
Letting yourself go through it. And it depends on where people are.
Mm,
But you asked me about from the moment I got the call.
mm,
So my son and his close friend, they left the Jupiter Inlet out of Jupiter, Florida. They were in a 19-foot fishing boat. They weren't supposed to be in the ocean. Uh, there was a bad storm. Florida, especially South Florida, is known for these freak storms coming out of nowhere and then they leave out of nowhere. Um, Coast Guard, Coast Guard was notified. They searched for 7 agonizing days. It was all over the news. Turned out to be one of the largest searches in the history of the Coast Guard. And neither of the boys were ever found, and I'm still not sure exactly what happened. And to have to think about like all the possibilities, right? Like, did he suffer? Did he just get hit in the head with the boat? Did he float until he couldn't anymore? Did he get eaten by a shark? Did somebody? I mean, things that no parent should ever have to think about, right? So, um, like I said, the first step is survival. So the early days were like my world was just completely shattered. Like I said, never really lost anybody before. No idea what to do. And, this culture of silence around grief that we have, is just makes people feel so, so isolated. People feel so alone. They have nobody to talk to. Nobody's talking to them about their person. And there's a way to handle that. So, there's a lot of like taboo and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's ways to, to move all those things. Like, therapy is good. Like I said, just didn't work for me. But after getting on a TEDx stage and talking to so many different people around the world about what they've been doing and what's been working for them, I feel like I've come up with I don't want to say a system, let's say a framework that
Yeah.
is helpful for others. And maybe we can get into that at some point down the road if you like.
Oh, absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
just for me to clarify, and for everyone listening, did you say that your son was never found?
Yes.
So, and I hope I'm not asking too uncomfortable questions. I know before we did the podcast, I asked, is
Yeah.
there anything I'm not allowed to ask? How many years ago was it now?
They were coming up on the 10th anniversary, so it'll be 10 years on July 24th of this year.
So you never got the chance to bury the child,
No.
obviously say goodbye, because that was never an option. You said you didn't know he was going out on a boat.
I knew it was there. So in Jupiter, it's a boating community. So lots of people have boats, but he wasn't allowed in the ocean alone.
I mean, I'm just listening to your story, and my internal thought process is going, how are you still
Yeah.
talking to
Yeah.
me? I'm getting emotional, and it's not my child, because I'm going through that. Well, holy shit. There was never a chance to say goodbye, never a chance to find the body. That always leaves open with the option of, is he? Isn't he? Is it something else? Right?
There's so many questions, right? At this point, I'm pretty confident he's not alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know exactly what happened, but man, the Navy was involved. I mean, there's a lot of organizations involved, so I have a lot of reports, so I can theorize. But they likely drowned at some point. I don't think that anybody took them. Yeah, or that they somehow are living on an island somewhere.
So before we go into the framework of
Yeah.
what you used, you've gone through that lived experience of something so horrific. At what stage did you stop asking the questions that kept driving you down and down and down and keeping you stuck in that dark place? I'm guessing that's what was the tipping point for, I now need to let go.
You mean okay, so yes, if you mean from like actually like when did a spark of light actually shine
Yes,
through? Yes.
because you are clearly in the light, Phil. I mean, there's things that you've gone through. You're now telling the story. That's not going. You're not going to be able to tell the story in the darkness, are we?
No, no,
What
and it
was
took
the
me a long
tipping
time
point?
to get there. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
So it was, a very long time of dark room, curled up, crying, right? And at one point, I heard Perry say, and almost in a tone like enough. So I heard Perry say, "Get up, Dad! Like enough! Like just get up." We so Perry, Perry and I used to listened to a podcast called Entrepreneurs on Fire on the way to school. And the reason we did that is because I just wanted him to be entrepreneurial. I wanted him to hear these stories of people who became a lawyer because their parents, that's what their parents did. They found out that's not what their passion. So ultimately, the short is to follow your passion, right? So I heard him say, get up, live with passion. I'll see you when you get here. And, the fact is, horrible things happen, right? Like, I mean, things are going to happen. You can't avoid it. You have to face it. But at some point, you have to choose, right? So I can choose to focus on all of the parts of me that died with Perry. And that's valid, right? I mean, it's a horrible thing. You could do anything if people are like, hey, kid guy lost his son at sea. Like, what could you expect? Or I can choose to focus on all of the parts of him that are left in me, and that's what I choose to do, And when this first happened, there was an interview, like it was only like 3 weeks and after, and I was like one of the news agencies, and they asked me a question about what I'm doing even then, and it's so weird to look back and watch myself say it, but it was I started speaking about the fact that first of all, there's so many people out there that would give everything to be a parent, like just to have a child, like so desperately. So one, I was blessed enough to even have a child, to know what it's like to be a father and create these amazing memories in the 14 and a half years that we had together. As I do believe I will see him again, without going too deep into that. And yes, are the like just even not, it was maybe 4 months ago, 6 months ago. I'm horrible with time. I was at my mom's birthday. All my nieces and nephews were there. Started crying with my mom, and I'm like, this sucks. Like Perry should be here, man. This is like, so it doesn't go away. Time doesn't heal all wounds. What heals wounds is activity, action, tending to the parts of you that need tending to.
Always action. It's
Yeah.
always action. But yeah. Look, thank you so much for sharing. I don't even know you, Phil. I've literally met you 15 minutes on the podcast, and I'm actually getting emotional just listening to you talking, because
Thank
that
you.
the strength you clearly have, and for anyone that's gone through grief. So I wanted to touch on, what are the 5 stages of grief, and why did you believe for you in that moment they are bullshit?
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, first, so the 5 stages of grief was originally developed in the late 60s, I think 69, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. The stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, to eventually reach this place called acceptance. Um, the, the fact is that they were originally created for terminally ill cancer patients to process their own grief. They were never intended for the bereaved. Yet they're taught that way through therapy, movies, and everything else, but that's not the case. So I didn't experience grief that way at all. I felt all those things in a single day. They weren't linear. I felt fear. I felt revenge, not even mentioned in the stages, right? So I'm like, this makes no sense whatsoever. So there's a lot, I can go into lots of reasons why the 5 stages are not a good model to follow and will only confuse people. Um, uh, so from there, I just, like I said, I went to all the therapists, read the books. I just wanted to get curious. Like I didn't believe that I needed to be a passenger. I wanted to find, I wanted to participate in my own healing. I wanted to, to know, what can I actually do to ease the pain of such an unimaginable loss.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, wow. So, what is the framework that Philip Cohen of San Diego has come up with, spoken about on the TEDx stages in the States? Um, Helps the people who come to him one to one, and I've been looking for your answers more than the book smart answers, which I think we both come from a place of, I'm lived experience, not book smart, and that's probably a really powerful thing for a lot of people sometimes. So
For sure.
what's the framework that Philip has?
Yeah. So after working with lots of people one-on-one, you realize there is no like I have a heart to serve. That's what I want to truly help, right? So there is no like, okay, this is where you start and this is where you fit. It just doesn't work that way with grief. So I've developed a 12-week curriculum. It's a framework wrapped in a metaphor, if you will, that provides structure and visualization where grief gets complex, and it compares the parts of our lives that are most affected by grief to that of a gardener tending to their garden. And in this metaphor, you were the gardener. And like a garden, growth takes time, seasons change, some things bloom, others die off. You need to pull the weeds, you need to plant seeds, there's storm, sunlight, right? Surprise blossoms. It's messy, beautiful, frustrating, sacred all at once, right? And in the same way that what determines the harvest of any garden, like whether it blossoms or bears fruit, um, is how effectively the gardener navigates the garden, right? When he plants the seeds, what the right time, are you paying attention to the weeds, clearing what needs clearing, right? Understanding the seasons, using the right tools. And the same is true for what determines whether we bloom or become barren in grief. And so how effectively, are you navigating? There's 8 domains, of grief that's mostly affected. So there's your health, mind, body, spirit. There's your emotions. And in the garden, your emotions are creatures that visit you. Joy is butterfly, pain is a bee, guilt is a worm. Your values, that's the garden map. Your weaknesses are weeds in the garden. Your strengths are your garden tools. Your life storms are the weather. Your relationships are neighboring gardens. And goals and future are the harvest, right? So you got to navigate these seasons with the right tools. You pull in the weeds when they need to be, planting the seeds, that kind of stuff, right? So this structure provides like a visualization, like I said, where it gets complex without having to like memorize terms, like psychological terms, or
Yeah.
sort through academic theory. It's growth focused, it's deeply personal, and it's life changing. And ultimately, I'd say it's for people who want to learn what to do with grief that never goes away, right? Like, and how to build resilience without ignoring the pain, how to find joy without faking it, you know, for people that, know they're hurt, or sick of faking it and not sure what to do.
I love that. I love the analogy of the garden. It's a powerful metaphor for people.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask a question? Where does
Please.
identity come into the garden?
Yeah, yeah. Identity is going to be, part of like focus, so like in terms of like career,
Yeah,
right? And also relationships, so mostly around relationships because your identity without other people, there really is no identity, right? So,
yeah,
but then there's like our work identity and then, uh, our personal identity.
yeah. I find it fascinating talking to anybody that's gone through something. A lot of my clients I work with have gone through horrible traumas. I never specified to get into trauma. It just a lot of the anxiety that I was working with my clients
Yeah.
came from horrible traumas, and that's kind of when I went
Mm.
on that journey. And grief and losing someone is traumatic. It's a trauma.
And man, it's not, grief is the loss. So I mean, and grief is way more than losing a person. It's the loss of a job, a dream, an identity. It could be, your health. Major changes are something people grieve, and oftentimes people have this tendency to put this hierarchy on grief, right? Like, oh well, you lost your son, that's way worse, and you know there is no hierarchy in grief. There isn't. It's very personal for everybody. I know this may be the worst analogy, but it's kind of like, the the difference between a bee sting and a dog bite. Like they both hurt. They're just different.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something, and I was like, that's something I've never heard before. I was like, ooh, I'm going to jump on that one a little bit.
Yeah.
What was where did the thoughts of revenge come from? How were you thinking, I want to take revenge? What was it? Where was it
Yeah.
placed? Where was it? How was those feelings arising?
Yeah. So I mean, seriously, if there's anybody listening that makes movies and is interested, I like this story. If I got into, like, if you just Google my son's name and like, you'll find stories, that tons of them that are still out there. Some of them are just like gone, but there's still a lot there. This was all over the news. There is so much there. It would literally take, so you know how a brain has to have a story, right? Like you can't live without figuring out a story. Like, so my story is so complicated that I wasn't able to explain it to other people. So I built a website so that like when you click this person's name, you find out here's where they were and the timeline, and because there was so much going on. All that to say, without getting into that whole story, there were moments when I wanted to, punch some people in the face, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is that, yes. But you perceived your anger and frustration at the world as revenge.
Say that one more time.
So you perceived your anger and frustration with the world of the loss, and for you, it came out as
No,
revenge.
I mean that there's like specific people.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like,
Yeah. 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 So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, I genuinely do find it fascinating, Phil. I really do. Is the emotional states that we get into, and whether they're empowering or dismissive at the same part. And I just think I talked about this with a previous client. I think I said I lost a cat years ago, and that I had to bury the cat. I know, and I'm
Yeah.
sat talking to
People
Phil
say the
Phil Cohen.
stupidest thing, man.
I know,
They mean well, though. They
I
mean well.
know, and
Yeah.
I'm just sat here going, well, I lost my cat, and that hurt. So, but I'm not saying, oh, I've lost a cat, so I understand your grief. What I'm saying is, my pain for a lost cat, and I had to bury it on a beach in Fuerteventura, and I know what that did to me on that day. I'm like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is some?
Yeah.
I
It,
mean,
it's
Phil,
brutal.
that's
It's brutal. It really is. It's brutal. That's the fact. And I talk to, the one thing is people, I hear that phrase all the time. I can't imagine. Like, I can't imagine. And the fact is, you can't, right? You can't imagine. Your
no,
brain, like,
I
literally
don't
won't.
want to.
You don't. You don't want to be in that pain of wondering, like, will they find your son in the ocean? Like, it's crazy. Excuse me. Um, and having spoken to so many people, man, I hear stories all the time where I'm like, geez, I'm glad I didn't go through that. I think, and I mean, this Diogo Jota, right? You're a soccer fan?
No, I
Okay.
no.
So I don't know if you know about Diogo Jota. Like, this guy is a legend in soccer, 28 years old, just got married to his high school sweetheart. Last Saturday, he and his brother killed in a car accident. Boom. Just like that. Like
Was
this.
that the Liverpool player?
Yes.
And I'm English. I really should know that. To be fair,
Yes.
yes.
Diogo Jota, man. I mean, so shit happens, right? Like, I mean, tragedy happens. It's not waiting for you to be ready. Tomorrow is never promised. And the fact is, like, you can, like I said, you can go on a downward spiral, and it's easy too. It's easy. One just leads to the next, but at some point you're at the bottom of this ocean, unable to breathe, and do you just lay down and die, or do you push off and get to the surface and take a breath and swim and eventually reach land and go from there, and also the way that we grieve also can honor or dishonor the person that we lost,
Yeah,
right? Like, I know my son does not want me curled up in a ball in a dark room. Like, I know that's not what he wants.
yeah.
So I also live this way to honor him.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
such a beautiful thing, Philip. Such a beautiful thing. And I
yeah.
know I've switched with your
Thank
name
you.
from Phil to Philip. It's just
It's okay.
I know I feel like I need to call you Philip, not Phil.
Yeah, yeah. Philip is my given name. Yeah, for a short time there, I almost tried to use the full name Philip. Like I don't remember how long ago it was, but I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. Yeah.
So I wanted to just touch on I know you call yourself the grief guy and this fabulous 12-week program. But and if it's okay, I don't like taking people too much back to the pain points.
You can ask whatever you like.
I know, and you've been very open and gracious for that. Is what was some of the? Have you removed the trigger now, or is there something that still pops up that's like, oof, that one's hit me. That's took my stomach away, the breath away, and that moment of it's still there.
Oh
What's
yeah.
how does that show up in your life, Philip?
Oh man, different ways, different ways. I mean, in the beginning, crazy ways, like things that blow your mind, like you just didn't realize. But like maybe years after, I don't know, like right around the time I gave my TEDx talk, I was walking down the grocery store aisle, and grocery store is a big one for a lot of people. Um, and I saw fruit roll-ups. Perry loves fruit roll-ups, and I just literally like lost it. Like just lost it. You know, I'll hear a song and lose it. Still happens to this day. I'll be in the shower and think of like a moment, like like one of my favorite moments, and start crying, and all of that is okay. Like that doesn't mean you're broken, that you're doing it wrong, and you're actually doing it right. It's like, especially as men, we're trained to like, be strong, and you don't cry, you suck it up. Yeah, but let me tell you something, that strategy doesn't work with grief because this thing's following you. No matter where you go, it's following you. And if you don't face it, it will get bigger. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater, right? Like you could do it for a while, but the harder you try and the further you push it down, the faster and harder it comes up, and eventually it's going to hit you right in the face. And so it's coming with you. The question is, do you want to be the driver or the passenger? Because it will take you to some places you don't want to go.
And for anyone going through it right now, I don't know who's. It might have been our contact that introduced us. That I don't know if it was one of his posts on TikTok that I saw, and it was the stupid things that people say.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
And what was the top three stupidest things that? Because I think one of the things that and I've heard it and I've said it. I think I've said it is that when's going to be the time that you're going to decide to move on,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Uh,
that's not an appropriate thing to say, is it?
no, no, absolutely
No.
not, because there is no moving on. There is no expiration date. There is no timeline.
Yeah.
Um, you should learn how, I mean, there is a process to learning how to carry it more gracefully,
Yeah.
but it is a process. The top three stupidest things, I mean, there's so many. I literally, for anybody that's new to grief that might be listening to this, especially if you lost somebody tragically, like a child or something big, one, you're probably going to lose a lot of friends and family. A lot of people cannot.
That's the second part of grief, isn't it? Because you
It,
get consumed.
yeah.
Not just lost your son, you are going to lose other parts.
Well, we live in a grief illiterate society. People are afraid to sit with people because your pain hurts them, scares them too much, and nobody's like taught us these things. It's there is like, if you look at like the Jewish culture, if, sitting Shiva, there's this whole process of like actually what Jewish people used to do, some still do, of 7 days and actually doing things. But nowadays people isolate. They try to handle it alone. Their friends and family don't mention their people's name. They don't know what to do. Um, so I've had people tell me, I had a friend tell me, Phil, it's just too sad for me to be around you. And like I remember thinking, like, it's too sad for you. Like this is too sad for you, you know, and that's just crazy. one of the worst things I think people could say is nothing, just nothing at all.
Is that not a
Um,
compliment if I can sit with you and give you grace?
oh, I'm just saying avoid, like,
Ah,
yeah, avoid, complete avoid it.
avoidance.
No,
Yeah.
sitting with somebody and saying nothing is the best thing that you can do. I mean, there is no words. The only word you could say to somebody in something like that is, I have no idea what you're going through. I just love you. Either do you want to talk about it or just sit there with them? Just sit, let them just sit, you know? You can ask compassionate questions like, what's been hardest for you lately? Just getting somewhere, like how, things like that. Don't ask, let me know how I can help you, because they're not going to let you know. Like that's
Mm,
yeah, proactively trying to find things. Um, and man, there's even something as benign as how are you? Especially in the beginning days. It's like, well, how the fuck do you think I am? Like, that's
pretty
one way.
much. Yeah.
And you don't want to say, well, I'm devastated, right? Like, so, but people don't think through these things, But
Yeah.
ultimately, like, you have to have grace with all that, or else you'll just be mad all the time.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So you were the VP, Vice President of Jungle Technology in San Diego?
Yeah, it was a SaaS company.
Yeah.
Yep, I've been a sales guy my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is the time allotted in America for time off for grief? Because
yeah. Don't get me started. Yeah,
I know, right? Because I mean,
it's
that's why I'm asking, because I'm like, what? How is it in America for that?
it's horrible. It's horrible. Like, first of all, there is no law that says you must give somebody time off. Most employees, you're lucky if you get 3 days, which I mean, like, you know what, man, when I went back to work, I've done, videos about this. Like, when I went back to work, I was a zombie. Like, I was useless. Use At one point, I literally sat there and I just peed in my pants, in my jeans. Like, I didn't want to get up. I just didn't, like, I didn't care. Like, I was just like, whatever. Just literally just pee. Like, that's how out of it I was. And eventually texted a coworker and she went and bought me jeans and like, and all that stuff. But so, like, people think they're broken or they're going crazy. Like, grief does some messed up stuff to you,
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but when you think about, like, when we have a child, right, you're given weeks, maybe even months to celebrate life, and have fun. But when you lose like the love of your life, you're given maybe a few days. So it's tough. There really needs to be training on like how to be able to support people at work who've been through grief, because it's really bad for people.
So when did you go? If you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
when
Yeah. It
did you
was,
go back to work? Clear,
if you,
please, not 3 days after.
no, God, no.
No,
No, God,
no.
I couldn't even move. Like, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, for the search lasted a week. Like, that's just the search part of it. And then, yeah. And then after that, so, yeah, I mean, though, those first, the first, a lot of people think the first year is the hardest. It is hard, but really it's the second year that's the hardest for a lot of people. The second year is the hardest in grief. But no, I went back to work. It was probably, I know, maybe a couple of months after.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And was your business graceful enough to keep remunerating you for that time?
For a portion, no, not for the whole time. There was a
Yeah.
portion, like there was like bereavement pay and I had paid time off and all
Yeah.
that, but I got that. And then the rest of it was, but they were gracious enough to be able to say, you can come back to work anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is better in the UK. There is time. I don't know what the actual specific time is, but I know that we have a very I believe we have a very nurturing system in some of the businesses in the UK. We try very hard with wellness and giving
That's
people space.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say I would champion a lot of the UK, not all UK businesses, but maybe the larger businesses that are like, look, we are ethical, we are that way to give people the space. Look,
But then also to know what to do and how to treat them when they come back. That's a big part of it too. So yes.
absolutely. So, Philip, we're gonna come to close to wrapping up on this.
Yeah.
What's the last thing that you want to make sure that somebody knows about? They've Googled this podcast. Like, I need to listen to Phil again. What's the message you want to sell to somebody that right now sitting there in a space of revenge, anger, resentment, depression, pissing themselves because they don't want to move, not washing, not cleaning, sat there going, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. Thank you. I would say, even if your world feels completely barren, I promise you something is growing. The human heart is like very resilient. So even if you can't see it yet, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like everything around you feels dead or hopeless or numb. Uh, there's life underground, right? And before it breaks through the surface, there's life there. So I would say, any act of presence, any act of time to show yourself care, even when it feels like nothing, it matters. Take a walk, get outside, get out of bed. All those things are win, especially in the beginning. Yeah.
You've got into my mind, which is great because you're the mind, it's the mind management mentors. But seeds grow in the dark, don't they?
They do. Yes. They definitely do. Yeah. Appreciate that. Yes, I'm always looking for more garden metaphors.
All seeds, all trees grow in the dark. All tomatoes grow in the dark.
It's where the good stuff happens a lot of the time.
That's where it's navigating, isn't it? It's
For
navigating for the
sure.
light. It's just looking for the light. I just love metaphor. Genuinely
Yes.
love metaphor.
Yes. You just got to be willing to look for it. You can't get stuck in that darkness because it will try and keep you stuck there. And this thing, as you know, right? It's not there to make you happy. It's there to keep you alive, right? So
Yes.
when you think I don't want to move, and because when you understand what's going in your body like that, what you think is saving you is really imprisoning you. Like it's just trying to keep you alive, and you just have to break through that, and you'll see that there's power there.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah,
Philip, thank
thank you.
you. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing the space. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for listening to your friend who put us in contact with each other to come onto the podcast. Um, when we're talking about these subjects that are hard to talk about, book smart is not always the way forward, and lived experience is a way forward. And you certainly, my friend, have a lived experience, seriously lived experience.
Yes, yes.
But as all great stories and great plants, seeds grow in the dark first.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Having me here. It's like, I was just gonna say, like, I don't know. I think we're always most powerfully positioned to serve the person we once were, and there's probably a lot of people, that are listening who've been through stuff. Tell your story. You can help other people.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you very much, Philip.
Yeah.
As always, if it's in the mind, it can be managed, and there's always a solution for every problem. We just might not want to see it at that moment in time. I'll see you on the next episode of the Mind Management Mentors podcast.